So
Right.
I think it is the top of the hour. So I'll start now. So yes, we're not actually in Warsaw. We are the online edition of SharePoint Saturday Warsaw. So a big shout out to the organisers. I mean, it was such short notice to turn this all online and to still do it in September as well. So hopefully I'll get to actually meet you all in person in September, and we'll be able to enjoy Warsaw in person. We do have sponsors for this as well, so thank you to all the sponsors. I'd say go visit them, but there's nowhere to really visit them in specific for this event, is there? So go visit them in September. That'll be a good start. So just quickly a little bit about me. So I work for a consultancy in the UK. I work primarily in Microsoft 365, but we also do a lot of project online, a lot of basic project management and work management. So what I'm going to be going through today is a lot around, I guess, what tasks are, what work do we actually need to manage within an organization? What are the options? Microsoft, as always, never give us one solution. They always give us half a dozen solutions that we need to choose from. So we'll go through some of them and then we'll compare them and see where they fit best for different types of work that you may have in your organization. So let's start off with, what are tasks and what are they for? And I know this might seem like a very strange sort of simple point to start, but if we think about what they are, it could be pretty much anything. I start work in the morning, I might have to read a document, I might have to respond to an email. Some people may have to go out and repair a tap or deliver a package. All of these sorts of tasks are things that we expect somebody in the organization to do, usually because we've asked them to do it in some way. But there may be all sorts of different things depending on the type of organization you are, the industry that you're in, that will make up work. And if our business relies on these tasks being completed, then we need to have some way to manage them. So we need to really think about, work management not being just project management. And it is quite different because we're not talking about, the formal project management. That's obviously one type of work. But, when it comes to things like, cleaning a fridge, well, somebody has to do that in the office. Otherwise, it's just not going to be pleasant if we all come in and there's dirty food in the fridge. So we need to think about all of this as work that supports our companies in delivering successful outcomes for our clients. So of all of those, we really need to think about what makes up a task. What do we think of as a task and how do we track that? So I'm sure we all have started off with task lists. Maybe it's a scrap of paper that we write down, right, these are the things that I'm going to do today. And, it's one line per task. So maybe it's just a description. Maybe if you have joined, if you can mute, that would be really useful. Thanks. So when we think about a task list, piece of paper, write down a description. We might want to say, actually, this is a categorized task. This is for me to do. So maybe it's a personal task. Maybe it's to do with a particular project, or it's because it's a Friday and therefore I need to do something, or it's month end and it's a monthly billing activity. So we need to categorize tasks as well. We want to prioritize them. If you're like me, you're unfortunate enough to come in every day and go, there's more tasks that need doing than I can do in a day, then I need to prioritize. So I need some way to actually judge which ones are more important on that particular day. Sometimes they have due dates. I need to complete my timesheets by the end of the week. I need to submit my expenses by the end of the month. I need to pay my taxes. All of those have due dates. And if you miss them, then there might be penalties. So being able to track when things are due means that we can actually start to prioritize them based around that as well. If they have a due date, they may have a start date. So if you know how long a task is going to take, and you know that you've got a due date of next Friday, you know it's going to take a week, then you probably want to plan to start it on Monday. So knowing when you have to start things and when you have to finish things is very important. We start to get more into project management then, you know, having a fixed amount of time that is allocated to complete a task. If I've started a task, then I probably want to say that I've started it. You know, if I've delegated a task to somebody, I probably want to know that they've started it. I want to know when it's complete as well. So bringing in a status is really important. I want to be able to see, you know, is it started? Is it completed? Is it maybe 50% of the way through, 60% of the way through? I need to know kind of how long it's going to take to complete as well. And then obviously I want to know who's actually allocated to do it, who is responsible for doing it. And that needs to be visible both as the owner of all of the tasks, as a project owner, as a department owner, a team manager. I need to know who's responsible for doing it, but also as an individual, I need to be able to see all of the tasks that are assigned to me. So my name needs to be associated in some way with that task. So if we have all of that information, then we can really start to manage tasks and we manage work. We can assign it, we can have visibility of it. So of all of those tasks, though, some of them are going to have different levels of visibility. So going back to my piece of paper with my list of tasks, that's very much my task list. I don't actually need to show it to anybody. It's private. It doesn't even need to be written in a language that everybody can understand. It just needs to be something I can understand. So it's very much an individual set of tasks. If, on the other hand, that task list needed to be shared with a team, I would need to start putting it in a location where everybody can see it. So I might put it up on a whiteboard somewhere in a shared office. I might put it somewhere online that everybody has access to it, so that everybody can then see what tasks are created, what's assigned, so we can then start to see who in the team has assigned tasks to themselves or been assigned to tasks. That also starts to give us the ability to use more of a Kanban approach of pulling tasks. I'm going to assign a task to myself, and then I'm going to look for other tasks that aren't completed, aren't assigned, and I can assign those to myself. So that starts to make it very much more collaborative. We have visibility of who in our team is actually working on different tasks. Now, we might also start to get into tracking tasks, you know, knowing when they were started, knowing when they were completed, starting to have things like burn down charts to see, you know, what our progress is. We may also start to get into the need to govern tasks. You know, I have a task that needs to be completed on time, so therefore I want to track when it's not completed on time. I want to start reporting on those things. That's not always so important at team level, but it certainly can be in some organizations. And then we start to move up to enterprise tasks. So, and this we do want to be able to track. We want to have an audit trail of when tasks were started, when they were completed. We want to know who's assigned to them. You know, maybe we're also looking at how often they're late and how often, you know, particular people don't carry them out. But we're also looking at how we can use our tasks and work management to actually plan for the future. So as a team leader, I might say, well, I've got 5 people in my team. I'm allocating tasks to them, but I can see that I have more tasks than I have capacity. So therefore, I might need to hire somebody else. So this is where we start to get into resource management and being able to say, based on the number of tasks, the amount of work, and the amount of people who can deliver that work, I need to hire people, reallocate people, maybe move them around. So that's where the enterprise really uses this information to manage the growth of an organization. So what do we actually need to manage? You know, if we're talking about all of these tasks and all of this work, we need to think about how we interpret the information that we're capturing from all of these tasks. So we might be planning. So we might have a backlog. These are all of the things that we want to do to make our company better, to make our system better, make our products better. So we have a backlog, everything that we could possibly do. We want to be able to prioritize those and choose, you know, what do we spend our time doing? What is the most important use of our time? And we may also have dependencies in there. I need to build feature A before I can build feature B. I need to plaster the wall before I can paint it. We need to have some visibility of those dependencies when we're planning the activities that we're actually going to be doing. When we actually start to get into the doing, maybe we need to have deliverables. We need to know what is it we're actually trying to achieve. Many tasks may contribute to a single product being released. There may be milestones along the way that we need to achieve. So we need to be able to measure those deliverables, whether we're doing those and know what they are once they're done. We also need to manage who's doing those, so having those assignments in place. We then start to get into monitoring. How fast are we doing things? Are we on track or behind? If I want to say that I've got a team of 5 people and I have 50 tasks and they're all going to take a day, maybe I've made plans based on my dependencies that all of those tasks are going to be done. So I need to know whether I'm on track, whether I'm behind, or whether, just from a planning perspective, how many tasks can that team of 5 people actually deliver, so that I can then plan my future iterations or sprints. If I do discover that I'm behind, then I really need to know, what is the result of that? Is there going to be a delay on delivering something? What is the impact of adding new features in, or adding more people in, or being behind? I need to measure the impact of that, so that I can actually manage expectations of my maybe my manager, maybe partners, maybe customers. How do I actually manage what the impact of a change is based on something changing in my plan? So all of those things are different levels of management that we need to think about. And we don't need all of those for everything that we do. If I'm working on personal tasks, I don't really need to think about all of those things. I need to know what I'm going to prioritize. Maybe I need to know a bit about the dependencies, but I don't really need to think about the impact of change. Whereas if I'm launching a product and I've hired a location to have a launch event, I really need to know, what is the impact going to be if the testing isn't going well on the product. So it really depends on what kind of work you're doing as to how you need to manage it. So let's look at some of the options. So we're talking about a really broad range of work here. Everything from, I need to do my timesheet on a daily basis to I need to launch a product and have a venue hired to do a launch event. So all of the things that Microsoft provide us, there's lots of different things. So starting from the left, we've kind of got to do, which usually I'd ask for people to put their hands up and say how many people are using to do. But that's really is taking off in terms of a personal task management. Exchange task lists were around, they still kind of exist, but actually they're being wrapped up into to do. We then kind of move more into a team space, planner. So planner is taken off a lot. It's not project management, it's task management. It's very much the Kanban board of task management in the Microsoft space. We've then got SharePoint task list. They've been around for years and years. They still have a very valuable place in this tool set that we have, because they are very flexible in terms of we can put in whatever details we want into a SharePoint task list, and it's very, very easy to automate them, to produce processes based on tasks in SharePoint. We then have shifts. A shift is very much targeted at shift workers. So if you are, managing multiple shifts of people who come on, they start work and they need to manage tasks between the different shifts. Shifts has that task management in there, but it doesn't have that full integration yet. So it is very targeted at just the shifts interface rather than being accessible to the wider interfaces. And then we move more into the enterprise project management. So project for the web, this is the new kid on the block. Project for the web is a cross between Planner and Project Online, and I'll show you what Project on the Web looks like and how it works. But it is that nice middle ground between task management in Planner and enterprise project management that's available in Project Online, and it's very intuitive and easy to use. Project Online has been around for years in the form of Project Server and Project Online, and it really does offer the enterprise project management. So it's got things like portfolio management, it can manage the projects, it can baseline, it can do timesheeting, all of those sorts of things that you need when you're doing enterprise project management. And then we have things like Power Apps. So Power Apps sits on top of multiple different things, but provides an interface. So it provides Canvas app interface if it's sat on top of SharePoint or Outlook or any other of the sort of the Office 365 tools. It can also sit on top of SQL databases and pretty much any data source that you have. But it also has the option of doing model-driven apps, which sit on top of the Common Data Service. And we'll go into a little bit about that a little later on. But that covers off, essentially, if you need to build something bespoke, that's where you would go. It is very, very powerful, but it also underpins Project for the Web and Dynamics 365. Now, Dynamics covers off very specific workloads. So where we're talking about managing tasks in a sales context, you know, I need to call somebody, I need to arrange a meeting, I need to update things. That's where the sales element of Dynamics really kicks in to manage everything in one place. But Dynamics also offers, you know, things like field service. You know, if you're managing an estate and you need to fix taps and go and, you know, manage the houses on a housing estate, then field service really allows you to do that. Works for the same for factories and machinery. If you need to manage physical activities of going and fixing things, field service works really well. And then Azure Boards, if you are developing code, Azure Boards manages tasks in a way that allows them to be integrated into the processes of building code. So therefore you get a lot of integration with, you know, the release cycles of software and applications. So those are very specialized areas, the Dynamics and the Azure Boards. Now I will cover off Azure Boards very briefly, but I'm not going to go into Dynamics and I'm not going to go into Project Online in too much detail either, and that's purely based on the time that we have. So that's a lot of talking and that's a lot of slides. So without further ado, we're going to go into some demos. So let me fire up a browser and let's just come in and see what some of this stuff actually looks like. So where we start off in Office 365, we've got that to go away. There we go. So we've got lots of apps here. So if I do all apps, I have access to Dynamics 365. So if you have licensing, you can access it from here. The other things that I can get to in here, I can get to Planner, I can get to Power Apps, I can get to Project, and I can get to To-Do. So I can get to all of these things directly from within this interface. I can also get directly to SharePoint and directly to Teams. So everything is accessible from within Office 365. So I'm going to jump into Teams first, and I'm going to start off with team tasks, teamwork. So if I were in here looking at a team as in a big T team, it might be for a department and it might be for a project. So I have two scenarios here. I have one that is a project, so Project A, and Project A has multiple different parts of the company combining to produce something. So in this case, we always have to have the general channel, but we might have a private channel for finance to have their conversations in that's separate from the rest of the organization and separate from the rest of the project. But I might also have Planner. So here I've got one planner set up, and this plan has a few sample tasks in here. So within here I've got various things. So I've got check the weather. So something I need to do. I've tagged it. So I've got labels that align to the channels that I'm using. So I've got general because this is a general task, but I also have labels in here for sales, product development, marketing, and finance. So I can put tasks in here and I can tag them so that they're applicable to these different channels. Now, in here, I've got various things that I can do. So I've got the buckets, so I can have whatever buckets I want here. So I tend to go with the to-do. Is it a backlog? Is it going to be done this week? Is it ready for review, ready for release? You can have whatever you want for any plan, though. You can change that for each plan. Now, just to give you some samples of other things that I can do, I can put a date in there so that it shows that it's in the past, highlights that it's overdue. This one, so it's not a very good document, but I do actually have a document assigned to this one. So where I can say add attachment, I can put a link in to either a website or to actually a document within SharePoint. So in this case, when I go to actually attach it, I can choose, the files and the folders. So in this case, I've gone into product development and I can see that there's a document in here. So I can attach a document into a task, which is really nice because it means that I don't have to then say, I'll go and have a look at that document over there. It's already there. I can just click it. It's the same document and I can choose to show that on the card. Other things that I can do in here. So I might have a website. So here I've got a website, and if I click on that, that just comes up. That's just got a URL in it. So it just comes up with that website. So that's it'll open up in a new window, just goes to corporate website. So again, I can put external references in here. I can also, if I scroll along here, I can put in subtasks. So in here, I've got an attachment, I've got a subtask. So all of these, I can just add these in and just say A, B, C, just put these in. And for each of these, I can choose that they are done or not. And if I put show on card, that will show up and I can see those and I can just tick them off from there. Now, the other thing that I can see is I've got progress. So it's in progress. Now, this is quite an important element to think about, because when we talk about progress, Planner only allows not started, in progress or completed. It's only those three statuses that it allows. I can't choose to have any more subtlety in there around it's 50%, 60%, 70%. So I need to think about, is that enough? I can put priorities in here as well. Again, I can't customize these priorities. And I can put start dates and due dates in here as well. So I've got quite a lot of capability in here. It is a task management system. So it is tasks, it's not project management. And I can just move these across and I can say, actually, that's now ready for review. Now, one thing that's really nice when you're using different channels for different areas of the organization that are coming together to manage a project, you can actually then choose to view by labels, for example, and group it by those labels. You can then filter it and say, actually, maybe I only want to see, so let's say assignments, I only want to see unassigned. So I can clear that. I can filter it by the labels and say, actually, I want to see only finance. So I can prioritize these, I can filter them, I can arrange them in different ways. So I can look by assigned to, bucket, progress. So I can see them in lots of different ways in here. Now, what I've got in here is one planner because it's one project. If I came across to this other site, so project site 1, now this might be a department, it might be so we're a consultancy that I work for, and we have one site like this for each client, and then we have multiple projects. So I don't have much in here, but I do have in each of the projects, I have risks issues, and I have my planner in here, but I have one planner for each of these channels. So I've put these planners in here, and they are essentially the same structure. They have a very specific name. And again, I can just move them around and I can interact with each of these planners, but one for each of these channels. So it's quite a different way to think about how you structure, the work, whether it's per channel that you're managing work or whether it is for the whole team that you're managing work. Now, what I also have in here is if you're managing work, then you might be using SharePoint. So I've got in here risks as well. So in this scenario, we're using risks and issues, but this could be tasks as well. Now, this gives us some flexibility because we can put in whatever we want. So we've got, rather than just a status of in progress, complete, we've got open, we've got closed. We can change the statuses of these, and we can also assign ownership of them as well. But within here, so I'm in project 1A, and I'm waiting for this to come in where you can actually choose a default view when you bring these into Teams. But I have views set up in here so that I can see only the risks and issues that are related to project 1A. And I have the full interaction here so that I can come in, I can look at a particular risk and I can manage it within here. So if I wanted to change let's change the risk probability so that this is going to be a low impact, it will save that there and it will update. So we can use all of the conditional formatting within SharePoint lists and present it directly in Teams. So if we've got custom actions maybe that aren't the same as the tasks that we're putting in Planner, we can manage all of that in one place and we can see it all in one place. So Teams offers us some out-of-the-box capabilities in terms of bringing Planner in terms of bringing SharePoint risks and issues. We can just add those as lists. What we also have, if I go back to my first project, is if we're using other tools, in this case, Azure, I've got Azure boards in here. So rather than necessarily using Planner as managing all of the backlog, I can still use Azure and I can still bring in the Azure boards and bring those directly into Teams. So I've got this as my interface. My developers would be working on this, but I can still move these around and I can still update them and work as if I were directly in Azure boards. So this gives us visibility into how our development team are actually working, but from within Teams. So our development team might be directly in Azure boards, but we can see the content in Teams as well. So it's quite a useful way to think about how you bring together that different work into Teams, either as a single project team or a team with multiple projects. Two different ways to think about it. So that's all well and good. I now have a planner in project A and I have 3 planners in project 1A, B and C. For me as an individual, maybe that doesn't really help me too much because I now have 4 different places that I need to go to see my tasks. And this is where to do comes in. So I'm going to flip over to do here. Now, what I'm looking at in here is to do. So I've got various different smart lists at the top here. And these are really designed to bring in my team tasks. So I've got assigned to you. So these are the tasks from those planners that are assigned to me. So when I've created them, I've given them the planner's name. So I can see project 1B, 1A, project A, and these are the tasks that are assigned to me. So if I just come back over here and go in to planner. So in here, I can see that I've got buy skis, and I've got check the weather, and I've got buy skis, and I've got check the weather, and I've got overdue. So I can see some of the information in here around this. So check the weather, it's got the comments in there, the text in there, it's got steps in there as well. So if I were to come across and assign this one to me as well, so I'm doing this in Planner and it's updated in there, and that will come in here. So what I can see in here is I can see the tasks, I can see open in Planner, and that would actually open it up, not in Teams, but actually in the Planner interface. But I also have in here, I can just check that off either here or in here. And if I check that off, it disappears and you get a nice ding sound, and that's that done. Now, if I come back over to Teams, what I should have, once it updates, it will disappear from in here, and it will show as completed. So we'll just wait while that, go through some other things whilst we wait for that to happen. So which other one? Build website. So that's the one I've just assigned to myself. And as you can see, the task list comes through and you can see what's been completed. So I can actually just tick these off in here. So by domain, choose tech, and that all gets checked off. And then that will synchronize over. And that's really quickly just gone in and removed those. And my completed item is now there as well. So as you can see, I'm working in both Teams and To Do, and I'm getting the same capabilities in both of them in terms of being able to see what I need to do and actually check them off. So the other thing that I have in here is those are assigned to me, but if they've got dates on, they will show up in here, and I might have earlier tasks and they will show as overdue. So all of these give me the option to tag these as saying mark as important, and if I mark them as important, then they will show up, and they'll show up in my important list. So this is aggregating across all sorts of different locations. So my project 1A tasks are in here. I also have a bunch of other tasks that are important. Now all of these other tasks are in here because they're coming from other locations. So the red ones are flagged emails. So if I have an email sent to me and I flag it, it will show up in flagged emails, and I can then tick it off as a task. I can flag it as important. So I can manage that as a task in here. But I also have down here task lists, and these are all my personal task lists. So what's really nice here is I can say I've got an online event, and maybe I want to actually duplicate it. So I can right click on it and I can duplicate this list. And that will create a new list. I can move this up, move it into another group, and then I've got all of those tasks, and actually I can just start to manage those, and I can tag them as favorite, I can tag them as done, I can reorder them if I want to, so I can move them all around and prioritize them in that way. And what this allows me to do is to say I've got templates for things, copy those, reuse them. If I wanted to add a task in, the tasks are very simple in here. So I can just say task A, hit return. If I click into that, I can set it to be, I'll come to my day in a minute, but I can add subtasks in here. I can add remind me, I can do repeat. So I can add, custom repeating, schedule it weekly, daily. I can add files in here as well. So if I want to, I can add files and upload them. Now, I'm not massively keen on that. That should be going from OneDrive in my view. But I can add tasks. It's quite easy to do. The mobile interface is exactly the same. So if you use a mobile phone, it's exactly the same for this. So that means that I can actually prioritize these. I can see them all in one place. And then what I can also do is I can add these into my day, add to my day. So this might be, these are the things that I'm going to do today. And then that gives me one place to look. And what I then see is that's the only things that I have set myself to do today. Psychologically, that's quite good because you can then start to just tick off and say, yep, I've cleared my list today. I can actually get hints about what I should add in here. And I can just add these in if it's something that I think I should actually do today. So it's quite easy to actually add them to my day. So that's managing tasks in To Do, and it's showing you how you bring them through from Planner and emails, and how you can manage your tasks. Now, if we go back to Planner, there are certain key things this doesn't do. So this doesn't allow us to have dependencies. We can't build a Gantt chart from this. So if we do have a schedule that we want to work to, this doesn't do that. This is very much task management. So this is where Project for the Web comes in. So what I've done is I've taken some of these tasks and I've built out a project for them. So my project, again, it's from the link in here to say project, and it will come through to this page. And I've got project A. So I'm just going to come into project A. And project A feels very similar to Planner in some ways. So what I'm getting in here is tasks, but if I look at it in the board view, I get buckets, add buckets, and I get tasks, and I can move these around if I want to just by dragging and dropping them. So it feels very similar, but it does some very different things. So where we've got check the weather, for example, what we have here, we've got our dates, so it's in the past. I can see that it's in the past. I've got a bucket. I've got a description. I don't have subtasks in here, and I don't have the ability to add documents in here, but I do have the ability to add dependencies. So I can add a dependency and it will say, that's funny, there's nothing there. Now that's because it's looking for something that's higher up in the list. So if I come down to, let's say, test, and let's put that in there, I've got a dependency in there. It depends on build content, and I can add a dependency and it will show me the previous tasks that are there as an option. So it's it starts to build out more of that project management capability. Now I've got effort, so I could be saying, actually, I've got maybe 8 hours of effort. I've got 8 hours remaining, and that gives me a total of 16 hours, which has automatically changed the duration to 2 days. And it said it's 50% complete. So if I said there was 0 hours remaining, it would change it to 100% complete, duration of 1 day, and it ticks it off as done. So we're really starting to get more into the project management space here. And the project management space, it kind of assumes a few things. It assumes that you've got efforts that you're tracking and that you are assigning things to people. And it assumes that you've got dependencies. So we can add columns in here. So we can see percent complete, buckets, depends on. So we've got a few dependencies, outline number. So we've got a few things in here. That's a reasonable view, but actually, maybe my board is going to be better if I'm going to categorize these by maybe, rather than this week, next week, I don't need that because I'm scheduling things, but maybe my department, so general, product development, marketing, I can categorize them. But this also comes with a timeline. So I can also see my Gantt chart and I can see my dependencies visually. And this is quite nice because actually I can just put dependencies in just by dragging things around, which works really nicely. And if I want to, I can just drag out the size of things and it just updates everything. So it's quite a nice interface to actually be able to manage tasks. This is all dependent on the groups. So my group members, I've actually put this into project A. So it's in essentially using the same Office 365 group that my team is using. So this will become tied into Teams to be able to see that kind of information. Now, one of the things about this is it seems quite simplistic. There's not much that I can do. Maybe you're looking at it thinking, for Planner, I can't change things, and this I can't change things either because there isn't an interface to do it. And this is where the common data service and model-driven apps come into play, because this is a simplistic interface to make it very easy to interact with. But actually, if I come to Power Apps, and I come into apps, then what I will see in here is I've got project. And if I click on project, this actually opens up a model-driven app. So if you're unfamiliar with Dynamics and model-driven apps, they are basically set out in the same way. You have navigation on the left-hand side. You have items in here. And if I click on my project A, I come in and I can see information. So I've got my estimates, so estimated start date. So these are things that I can actually put in. I can edit these. I can add other things into this as well. I can see this in tasks. This will be the same view as we had before, but actually this is all customizable. So I can actually start to customize the fields that I'm using for my tasks. So I can start to build out new task fields. I can build out new project fields. So if I want to start categorizing projects, maybe grouping them together under portfolios or programs of work, I can actually start to do that because this is all the common data service. This is all in one place, and it's all completely extensible using model-driven apps and the common data service. So there's a lot more capability to open this out and actually customize this. So that's it for the demos. So let's come back to the presentation. So how do these compare? Now, some of the things that we need to think about are, the questions that we're going to be asked. How can we access these? So there are lots of different ways that we can access these. I've shown you primarily using Teams because Teams is the go-to interface for most things. So you can see in here it will be accessible via Teams. Planner is accessible by Teams. Azure boards, yes, we can bring that in as a tab within Teams. The SharePoint tasks, we can bring those in as a tab within Teams. Shifts is in Teams. Project for the web will be. Project online isn't. Dynamics, again, anything that we can build a Power App to view, we can bring into Teams as well. So most of the tools that I've shown you have all been visible through Teams and are essentially all accessible through Teams as well. Now, I mentioned that To Do was coming into Teams. So at Ignite last year, they were demonstrating it, and it's a little hard to see, but there's a couple of key things that on the left, you can see different groups of tasks coming from Planner within each team. So where you have your project 1A, B, and C, those would all be grouped under a team. And then you have a much nicer view there in terms of a grid view to see tasks all together, which is kind of more similar to that project on the web view. So tasks tend to have some level of automation around them. So integration with flow is quite important. To Do is a little bit of an odd one because To Do kind of already brings a lot of things together from native locations and it augments the information, but there aren't actually that many flow actions and triggers that we can use. There are some of the Outlook tasks ones that are still in there, but To Do doesn't have great integration at the moment in terms of being able to add to my day and updating and flagging as important. So those things where it's actually adding information on top of the native location as in Planner, then you can't really do all of that yet. Planner has some good integration. SharePoint has fantastic integration. Azure Boards does have very good integration, but it is a premium connector, which does mean you need to think about the licensing for it. Project for the web, Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, again, they are all premium connectors. If you are using CDS and model-driven apps, then you probably already have the licensing for it because those require additional licensing. So the other one is data access and reporting, a very key element in terms of what we need to actually do if we're going to actually present any reports. I mean, we use tasks to manage our whole business and work management, so a mix of projects for the web and Planner. So bringing all of that together is really important. So Power BI is a great starting point. There are good connectors for quite a few of these. So when you think that CDS actually underpins project for the web, it's a good starting point to say there is a connector from Power BI. Azure Boards has a connector out of the box, as does SharePoint. To Do, again, there are some access via REST API, but it's not fantastic in terms of how you can access all of that content, because it is very, very much a personal view. How are we doing for time? Wow, almost on time. So I guess in summary, what I've shown you very briefly is lots of different tools for managing lots of different types of work that relate to different audiences. So when I sort of summarize this, I'm really thinking about, what type of work it is. Is it personal? Is it just you who needs to manage it? To-do is perfect for that. It's got personal task lists. You can have the templates. You can mark things as important. You can add them to My Day. You get all of that out of the box in To-do. You can also use To-do to manage those team tasks. So if they're in Planner, you can see them in To-do. SharePoint tasks, you can't see in To-do. You can't see them in Planner. We've worked with some clients who really look at SharePoint tasks as being the solution when you need to do complex automation or auditing, and where you need to have customized fields and statuses to manage processes. So that's where SharePoint task lists really come in. But because you can't see them in To-do, you're starting to lose that single point of contact. But you can still do personal views, those assigned to me, and then set that as a default view and bring that into Teams so that everybody sees their own view of those tasks. And that does work exceedingly well. When you start to get to development teams, I wouldn't take them away from Azure boards because of the integration with the full Azure DevOps capabilities. That really is the place where they should be working. Project and program management. Project Online still has a place. It's got timesheets. It's got mature capabilities for managing enterprise project management. Whereas Project for the Web is new kid on the block. It has a lot of scope for being customized. It has a lot of scope for integration into things like Power Apps. That's very easy because it is using the CDS, and it will be continuing to be developed and developed quite rapidly because it is a really good advancement from Planner. So your kind of project maturity would be, hopefully you're not using Excel, you've moved to Planner, but then you might move on to Project for the Web when you find that Planner doesn't have the things that you need. And the key things there are dependencies, effort management, and scheduling. So as soon as you need those things, really the place to start looking is Project for the Web. And then custom solutions, Power Apps all the way is where you need to be. A combination of model-driven and Canvas Power Apps usually will deliver very, very positive results. And then Dynamics is very specialized workloads. You've got sales, field service, project service automation. All of those are very much mature products that already deliver capabilities for those areas of your business where you need them. So I'm going to stop talking and check and see whether there are any questions. So let me just flip back to Teams and see if there are any questions in the chat. What license do you need for Project App? So it is at least a Project Plan 1. So Jimmy, yes, you're right. Project Plan 1. Project Plan 1 will give you access to that interface that I showed you. If you need to customize it, you actually need Project Plan 3. So if you are going to go into the CDS and the Power Platform, then you need to go down a level or up a level in the licensing to get Project Plan 3. Are there any other questions? No? Okay, well, please reach out on Twitter or on LinkedIn if there are any other questions that you have. And if I could ask you, please do fill out the survey. It's the first time we've run this online, so it'd be great to get feedback, and I always welcome any feedback in terms of things that you want to see or don't want to see in the session that I've just presented. So other than that, that's it from me, and hopefully I will see you all actually in person September the 12th at Polish Microsoft's office, and that will be, yeah, really looking forward to that.
That's right.
So, yeah, so that's it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. It was a great content. So thank you, and see you in next sessions, and with you, Alan, in September.
Definitely.
Polish office, right? Take care.
Looking forward to that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.